Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Before I get started, I would like to preference my remarks by introducing some guests. Obviously, my wife, Brenda Baker, seated to the left. Next to her is Patience Hill, who served me for many, many years on the Health Committee. And in the back of the House, at the rear of the House, we have Dottie and Don Gardner. Please stand. Kim Johns, Susie Young, Seneca Gastruck, all employees in my district office. Whitney Metzler, where's Whitney? There she is, Executive Director of the Health Committee. Nicole Seidel, Research Analyst, Health Committee. Honorable Paul Clymer. Paul, good to see you here. Tioga County Commissioner Roger Bunn, Navy veteran. Good to see you, Roger. Bradford County Commissioner Darrell Miller and his wife, Kay. Thank you for coming. Tricia Lehman. Tricia worked for many years for me. Is my writer. Ron Butler, good friend, golf partner, and former president and CEO of Laurel Health. Glad to see you here, Ron. Bear with me a moment. Mr. Speaker, what a great honor to return to this most beautiful chamber. And thank you again, Mr. Speaker. There he is. Really appreciate being back up here. I promise not to be too long for fear of my friend, Representative DiGirolamo may move to recommit or adjourn. No, you're not recognized. Special thanks to Speaker Turzai for the honor of serving as Speaker Pro Tem for so many years. It's been an incredible honor for me to serve as your Pro Tem, and to have that trust and confidence in you. I shall never forget that for the rest of my life, so I really appreciate that honor, Mr. Speaker. Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, at times, being up here can be rather serious and stoic and tense and difficult with procedural motions and different points of opinion, but it's not without its levity and humor from time to time, and the parliamentarian and I have had a few of those moments together, and I just may want to mention a couple of those. And I know Jimmy, the Mace Bear, has also been here on a few occasions. So what I'd like to do is just mention a couple of matters when I was up here presiding, and I will call them the lost and found stories, if you will. And one of the times I was up here, I saw a tie. And I thought, gosh, this is a beautiful tie. Who's this tie belong to? And Clancy said, well, it was the Speaker's tie. And it's been up here for quite a while, but I don't think he knows where it is or anything. And I says, well, maybe if I wore it the next day, he'll say, gosh, there's my tie I've been looking for. Or he may just say, hey, I got a tie just like that. So the next day, I put the tie on, came up, presided, and then when he arrived, sure enough, he says, gosh, man, I've got a tie just like that. And I've been looking for it for so long, and I don't know where it is. And Clancy and I tried to be as serious as we could without giving anything away. And we kept it secret for quite a while. But Clancy laughed so long it brought tears to his eyes, and we'll never forget that. And then one other time, I found a sock sitting underneath here. And I said to Clancy, what's this sock doing here? And there's only one sock lying here. And he said, well, that's a Speaker's sock. And I said, okay, what do I do with it? And just leave it there. It'll. No, I didn't want to touch that. But you know, I don't know if you're still short a sock or not, Mr. Speaker, but I thought you might like a pair of socks with the U.S. flag and a puppy dog on it. So there's a sock that I think you might, a pair of socks that you might enjoy. And then I often wondered what in the world else is underneath here that I didn't really want to go digging too far, and I didn't want to let my imagination get carried away, but I thought, this is the last one, Mr. Speaker, but I thought maybe you were lacking something else that was under there. So I did pick up a nice patriotic pair of lounge shorts that I thought maybe you could use. And, you know, Dave Radcliffe has shared with me a lot of stories about you over the years, and I thought maybe that would come in handy as well. So enjoy that. And here's a tie, too, just in case you lose another tie. I thought you might like to have this tie as well. So thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. So yes, it gets serious up here most of the time, but on other occasions we've had a lot of good fun, and I'll never forget the memories. So I promise, again, Jane, not to be too long. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, leaders, chairman, colleagues, both majority and minority leaders, for this opportunity to give farewell remarks. Mr. Speaker, friends, state representatives, countrymen, lend me your ears. This will be likely the last time that I'll be at this microphone, and I will never forget the moments over the last 25 years of serving as Speaker Pro Tem from this podium for 4 Republican speakers. I've made so many honored trips here, and I'd like to say thanks for the honor of serving, working with my good friends and parliamentarian Clancy Myers, who is arguably the most competent, skilled, and experienced parliamentarian in our nation. Thank you, Clancy, for over 40 years of service to both Republican and Democrat speakers, as well as to the members of the House. Thank you very much, Clancy. And yes, Clancy, I have a pair of socks for you. Clancy has some puppy dogs, and I know he goes home, he feeds them, and so I want to give you a pair of socks. And Clancy may be one of the most interesting men in the world. And he's also one of the coolest guys, given his wry sense of humor. And so, Clancy, because you are one of the coolest guys I've ever met, I thought I'd get you a pair of sunglasses. You look great, Clancy. This looks wonderful. And I also want to thank Jimmy Feta, the Mace Bearer. Jimmy, for making sure I properly recognized the House members for debate on motions and becoming a closer friend over the last few years as you went through some very, very difficult times and loss. And we had some great dinners and times together, and I've got a little gift for you too, Jimmy. So I didn't want you to be left out either. So thank you, Jimmy. I would like to thank Karen Coates, the best chief of staff to Speaker and House members ever. Karen, what a field marshal, and you are just the absolute best. And I'll never forget your interceding in behalf of the oral chemo parity legislation to get that to home base, and so many other critical, crucial pieces of legislation. Thank you so much. You've been a blessing and a godsend. Really appreciate you. I've been blessed over the last 25 years of elected service to have great staff here at the Capitol and in my district offices. I'm not sure she's listening, but thank you, Terry Boyer, who was with me in my earlier career, who worked so diligently, often through her lunch hour, to the late Gina Strine, who served faithfully in my Capitol office, but who lost her courageous battle with cancer. To Patience Hill, who lives up to her name and always exhibits the Christian fruits of the Spirit daily, and prepared the Health Committee agenda bills, the amendments for our Health Committee members, and also filed related reports and managed my Capitol office. Thank you, Patience. I would like to thank Whitney Metzler, Nicole Seidel, Melanie Brown, Melanie Donnelly, and Elizabeth Yarnell for all the good work they did and we accomplished together over the years to pass so many bills out of the Health and Human Services Committee and the late Health Committee that, and of late the Health Committee that became law in Pennsylvania after we divided the committees. Thank you for attending so many office meetings and working with stakeholders to reach agreement on so many substantive pieces of health-related bills. As I mentioned, oral chemoparity to help cancer patients, pharmacy-related bills, opioid-related bills, hepatitis C testing law, patient-centered medical home, precursor drug listing law, critical access hospital funding law to help rural hospitals, ambulatory surgical center facilities law, and combat methamphetamine law, to name a few. Thank you for all the help you gave to staff as well, working across committees and all my colleagues. I mean, those are just bills you helped me with, but I know there was a multiplier effect where you helped so many of the Health Committee members get bills passed through the House and the Senate, both Republican and Democrat. I would also like to thank my colleagues in the Health Committee that are here this morning or this afternoon for all their support and attention to some very important but complicated bills that became law, such as the biosimilar law and others. Mr. Speaker, if I may take the liberty, I'd like to thank the late minority chairman of the Health Committee. You see, when I first wrote my remarks, Chairman Fabrizio was still living and serving in the House. And while he is no longer with us, I believe he would have appreciated the well-deserved recognition, albeit posthumously. To Representative Florence Fabrizio, Minority Chairman of the Health Committee, thank you, sir, for your professionalism, collegiality, and friendship. We have worked so very well together, and I was happy when we could advance one of your bills dealing with the ambulatory surgical centers through the committee and House to later become law. And thank you again, staff, for your good work in working across the aisle to make sure that happened. Flo, thank you, sir, for your courage, your inspiration, and positive attitude as you fought and battled against cancer. Thank you, too, for the great joy of working with your staff on the committee. What a joy. Just a tremendous team on the Health Committee. We're both blessed to have a great staff to work with, to pass so many bills over the years, with most in a bipartisan manner. God bless Chairman Fabrizio. In tribute and memory of him, I even dressed up a little bit. It's been 30 years since I had French cuffs and handkerchief in my pocket. As you knew, all the members know, Flo was arguably the best dressed member in the House. And he always looked sharp, and he always inspired people to do their best. And so I'm trying to, Flo. Too many to mention over all the good work that we did together, but let's give Flo Fabrizio at least another round of applause for his impactful good work. To the class elected in 1992, Chairman Saylor, Chairman Hennessy, the last of the 23 of us that were elected in 1992. Thank you for your friendship. Nerds, are all the nerds here? The Northeast Republican Delegation. I have no idea who came up with that acronym. I was never comfortable with it, but it works. So I wanted to especially thank my neighbors in the nerd delegation, Chairman Tina Pickett, my next door neighbor, Martin Causer. Where's Marty? Here's Marty. Marty's got a contagious smile, does he not? And Garth Everett and Jeff Whelan. Thank you. Thank you for being such good neighbors and part of the nerd group. Allow me also at this time to acknowledge, thank, and pay tribute to my district office over 25 years, Dottie Gardner, Kim Johns, Suzanne Youngs, Seneca Gastrick, and their predecessors, Wendy Nason, Wendy Rebecca, Rhoda Grabowski, now retired, but whom worked faithfully, loyally, and assiduously in helping both myself, but more importantly, our 68th district constituents. I'm so thankful for your good and faithful service for so many years and for being ranked #1 year after year in our caucus for constituent services to the citizens back home. You know, I was a former district staffer myself for 12 and a half years before being elected to office while I worked in a law firm. Back in those days, you could do that. You can't do that now. So I appreciate all the good work our staff does, not just in the district offices, but here in the Capitol, in Harrisburg. Thank you so much. In fact, members, what is very interesting is that when I first announced I was not running for a 14th term, in addition to the heartwarming well wishes I received, I found it very telling and appropriate that so many constituents would ask, what is going to happen to your great staff? Will Dottie continue to help us in the Troy office? Will Susie, Kim, and Seneca, her patients, be okay and keep helping us in the Wellsboro or Harrisburg office? My point is that what we do here is not always all about you or me. It is really about providing outstanding service to our constituents and the teamwork that is necessary to provide assistance to those whom we serve with respect, dignity, civility, professionalism, maximum accessibility, and with a heart and passion for servant leadership. So it is not really about us, but those 65,000 citizens we serve in the district individually and the nearly 13 million collectively here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. It's been the honor of my life to be a member of the Pennsylvania House of Representatives and work in this beautiful chamber here in PA House of Representatives for over a quarter of a century, and to work for the House of Representatives for nearly 38 years. So many of you have called, written, or emailed me to wish me well, and I appreciate that. Thank you so much for your friendship. Well, I've probably said enough, and if I've forgotten anyone, please forgive me. I want to, most of all, thank my wife. Thank you, Brenda, for supporting me all these years, the long nights and weeks away from you, whether in session or late night meetings and weekend events or ceremonies, the the missed birthdays or anniversaries or special family functions I could not attend. Thank you for your steadfast and enduring love despite my absence, and for your shared vision of service to others to help make this state a little better for others and the next generation to follow. Thank you for typing these remarks for me and the dozens of times you helped me prepare remarks or PowerPoint presentations on the weekends, even though you had to create lesson plans or grade papers. Thank you for doing all this while you enter your 30th and final year of teaching English. I've always been blessed by your steadfast love. I've always been blessed by your steadfast love, encouragement, support, wisdom, and positive perspectives. Thank you very, very much. Lastly, I have to thank God for making it possible to be elected 13 times and to serve in the House for nearly 38 years. For taking this humble shell of a person and allowing me to overcome so many challenges and giving me a heart for servant leadership, and for also giving me a wonderful and supportive wife, staff, and district to represent. Thank you. The Gospel of Mark tells us, whoever wants to be first must be a servant of all. We have seen a lot of great leaders, and if you ask them what pushed them to be great leaders, what got them out of bed in the morning, and what kept them up at night, many would say the same answer: the people they serve, the people they love. Continue, members and staff, to serve your people and the people you love, and I'm convinced you will be blessed in this great institution we call the People's House, as well as back home in your district, and perhaps even more importantly, in your home and in your families. In conclusion, allow me to quote a former Speaker of the House who served as Speaker in 1764 Provincial Assembly, back then Benjamin Franklin. I've lived, sir, a long time, and the longer I live, the more convincing proofs I see of this truth, that God governs in the affairs of men. If a sparrow cannot fall to the ground without his notice, is it possible that an empire can rise without his aid? We've been assured in the sacred writings that unless the Lord builds the house, they labor in vain who build it. I firmly believe this, and I also believe that without his concurring aid, we shall, in this political building, do no better than the builders of Babel. That was Benjamin Franklin, former Speaker. So my prayer for all of you is this: trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto your own understanding, but in all things acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. And may you remember these words from the late great President Ronald Reagan, who said, live simply, love generously, care deeply, and leave the rest to God. Mr. Speaker, what a great honor to serve in this House for over 25 years and to work for the citizens of the 68th District for nearly 38 years. Thank you, and God bless you. God bless Pennsylvania, and God bless America. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.